In our previous lesson, we learned the fundamental concepts of prototyping, why we need to create a prototype, how we use a prototype to test our assumptions, and the four essential components of prototyping that we must always keep in mind. In this lesson, we will look into the common methods of prototyping. These methods can be in the form of rough prototypes, concept walkthrough, experience, and service prototyping, all of which are quick, easy, and inexpensive ways to translate your solution to tangible and testable prototypes. Let's start. Sketching is one of the earliest forms of prototyping that you can use. It requires very little effort and does not necessarily rely on artistic levels of drawing skill. You can use sketches to illustrate your ideas and launch them into the real world. You can also use sketch diagrams and mind maps to illustrate a system, a process, or the structure of your ideas. Or you can use sketch the various touch points that affect that affect a user's journey and then identify how they relate to one another. Another method is paper interface. Paper interfaces are handy at the early stages of prototyping for digital products such as mobile apps, websites, web services, and other screen-based products or experiences. You can create paper interfaces by sketching them out or by drawing and cutting out usable parts of a user interface. Another method is storyboard. Telling stories is an excellent way of guiding people through a user experience. Storyboarding, a technique derived from the film industry, is something you can use for early prototyping to allow yourself to visualize the user's journey or how others would experience a problem or product. It is useful for developing an empathic understanding of users and for generating high-level ideation and discussions. Another method is a Lego prototype. You can use Lego bricks to create rough prototypes of products or to simulate a user's journey. The best part of using Lego is that they become easy to dismantle and tweak. So you can simply detach a part of your Lego prototype, swap it with an alternative design, and play with it to see if it works. The next method is called role-playing. Role-playing is a method that allows your team to explore scenarios within the system you are targeting physically. We can make the best use of role-playing in capturing and expressing the user's emotional experience of using your product or service. By reenacting scenes and situations you are attempting to improve, your team can get a better sense of what the experience may actually feel like and where you need to concentrate your main focus of improvement. The next method is called physical models. Building physical models as a prototype are very useful if your solution is in the form of a physical product. Physical models can spark discussions about the form factor of the solution. You can use rough materials such as paper, cardboard, clay, or foam, and you can also repurpose existing objects you can find around to build your physical models. The next one is called Wizard of Oz prototypes, and these are prototypes with fake functions. The most common example of Wizard of Oz prototypes is a prototype of a digital system where the user is tricked into thinking the system responses are computer-driven when they are actually human-controlled, such as a piece of virtual assistant software, for example, in which a human working on another computer types the responses. Wizard of Oz prototyping works best if you are testing interactions of your product before building it. The last one is called a user-driven prototype, and this allows you to collaborate with your users. Instead of building a prototype to test on users, you will instead get the user to create something. And from the process, you learn more about the user. And the purpose of user-driven prototype is not to use the solutions that the users have generated, but instead, it is to use their designs to understand their thinking. The user-driven prototype works best if you want to gain empathy with your users or to fine-tune the details of your product once you have an idea in mind. So, with these 8 common methods of prototyping, it can be quite confusing which method you would use to test your assumptions. Well, here are some guides to help you. You can use rough prototyping if you want to make your solution concept immediately tangible and start discussing and iterating on it. You can use experience prototyping if you want to learn how to refine and further develop the service experience while still designing it. And you can use a service prototype if you intend to observe how the overall experience is orchestrated and refine all the design specifications. Lastly, you may use the concept walkthroughs if you want engagement with potential users at very early stages and gain quick feedback on your idea. In our next lesson, you will learn how to get the right feedback for your prototype.